welcome to our third Flexibility Moment. Our webinar today will introduce you to the world of breweries. I'm very pleased to be with you today, even for a few time, but together with my colleague Nicole, Fabio and Claudia, we will give you some suggestion on how to get the best beer, to save money and therefore to smile. So let's say today we will stay with you around 30 minutes and I ask you, to send your questions, all the demand you have by chat, as we want to reply to you later, and in order to give you really the reply you need. And then please fulfill the satisfaction survey, as this is also very important, as we want to know what you have learned, we want to know your feeling, and also would like to know if you have some other information you need. So I'm Stefania. I'm part of the sales office. My favorite beer is Guinness. Why Guinness? I had my first Guinness in Dublin at Guinness Brewery in downtown, really, together with our customers based in Ireland. We had a nice meeting, and at the end of this, we had a beer together. Really, my first meeting, my first Guinness. What I want to tell you with this is that being a beer together sometimes is really of help to understand your feeling, to understand what you need, and to try to find a solution together. What we have learned in these years is that a good sanitation of the hose is really important. We have learned that too much stuff bending or torsion of the hose can destroy it quickly. I personally have seen a lot of hoses damaged, destroyed, as the CIP used was incredible, high concentration, high temperature. But about this, you will get much more deep information from my colleague later on. You know very well that there are two main breweries, industrial and craft. Industrial is based on big numbers and let's say standard production. In the last years, also industrial brewery started to produce some special beers. They want to be much more attractive. While the craft brewery is really the passion and the creativity of the brewmaster in a glass. In both industrial and craft breweries, you can have also a nice tasting of all beer you want, and you can have also combined a nice tour of the production site. It's very important, and I loved it. I tried once in my life. You can see how the beer is made, and if you love beer, this is nice to learn. And you can show also the beauty of our red hoses, so why not? Let's try. Thank you, everybody, for these few minutes with me. And now Nicole will introduce you the world of breweries, what a brewmaster wants. Bye.
Thanks, Stefania, and welcome to the second segment of Beer Up, where we will be talking about brewmasters' needs. Whether you produce an industrial beer or a craft beer, there are common requests and specific needs to your problems. It is our job to understand those needs and to supply you with the best hose and service to make your job easier. One of the most important qualities is purity. In 1516, the Reinheitsgebot in Bavaria was adopted, or the purity law. It regulated the ingredients, the process, and the quality of making beer. Today, the same concepts are true. Europe has a harmonized legal framework for the articles that come into contact with food, for the safety of all products, also guaranteeing 100% traceability of our products. As you well know, purity is fundamental in all production phases. The same is true for a rubber hose manufacturer. Thanks to the chrome mandrels where we produce our rubber hoses, we can guarantee a mirror-like inner tube. Together with our full flow fitting style, there's no risk of bacterial growth, making our hose assemblies very safe for you. Another important aspect for the brewmaster is versatility. The brewing process requires a lot out of a hose. It has to convey mash, beer, and a variety of chemical products. Some of these chemical products can even run at 80 degrees for up to 60 minutes, which is why it is important to talk about strength. Every day, hoses are subject to a variety of stress, depending on the equipment that they are used on, depending on the pressure ratings, and also depending on the temperatures, which can vary greatly from 0 degrees conveying beer up to 82 degrees for an hour conveying chemical products. Finding the right hose that can handle all these variables is important. As a rubber manufacturer, we like to think of the rubber hose as a trustworthy partner that can offer stability and duration over time. In a craft brewery, it's important to have a flexible hose. The same hose is used in all production phases and is manually moved from one piece of equipment to the other by the operator. And that is why it's also important to have a lightweight hose. Substitutions of a hose are common. It's important to have a hose on spot that can be fitted by the operator, and thanks to our Easy Shell patented system, that can be done in just a couple of minutes on site. Aesthetics are very important to create the right image of your product. Social media and introductions into your production unit create a unique opportunity to sell your product. And the IBG Made in Italy brand will guarantee that. And now I have the pleasure of introducing you to the IBG stories. We will be listening to Jungle Juice, a Roman craft brewery who will be talking about their experiences with the IBG hose. Thank you.
Nel 1996, quando la birra artigianale inizia a diffondersi nel mercato italiano, diventando nel tempo un prodotto di eccellenza. Oggi siamo qui con Jungle Juice Brewing, birrificio artigianale che si trova nel cuore di Roma. Questo birrificio utilizza da tempo e con soddisfazione i tubi IVG Vino Flex Easy raccordati, che acquista dal nostro cliente Pub, un rivenditore di materie prime e attrezzature, un vero punto di riferimento nel settore brassicolo, riconosciuto con il marchio Mr. Malt. La testimonianza ci aiuterà ad approfondire questo importante campo alimentare e gli utilizzi dei nostri tubi. Ascoltiamole insieme e welcome to the jungle!
Allora, il birrificio, nasce ufficialmente come birrificio stabile fine 2016. Fare birra artigianale per noi è sicuramente prima di tutto avere attenzione alle materie prime che utilizziamo, ai processi produttivi e non accettare compromessi in termini di industriali, diciamo. La gran parte delle nostre birre è destinata a essere bevute velocemente, ma a scopo rinfrescante, no? Diciamo come birra, come è il concetto di birra, facciamo cose un po' più complesse, un po' più ad alta gradazione, magari più stagionali, ma il nostro concetto di birra rimane quello di un prodotto da bere anche in quantità, in cui la qualità e costanza deve essere rispettata il più possibile negli standard che ci auspichiamo. Allora, noi utilizziamo tubazioni tendenzialmente per due aspetti fondamentali, che sono i lavaggi e le sanificazioni degli impianti e i trasferimenti di mosto, quindi prima della fermentazione, e birra tendenzialmente finita. Quindi diciamo che è il veicolo tramite il quale ci assicuriamo sia la pulizia all'interno dei tipi di fermentazione, salacotte e quant'altro, sia i passaggi di prima del mosto di birra prima della fermentazione, sia della birra condizionata. Poi noi molto spesso facciamo dei passaggi a birra finita, diciamo, tra fermentatori e maturatori, quindi è un ulteriore passaggio per la pulizia e stabilità della birra, che effettuiamo proprio a birra finita, con pressioni adeguate, tutto quanto. Sì, noi tendenzialmente quelli che utilizziamo per passaggio di mosto e birra connettono sala cottura, quindi l'ultima parte della sala cotte, che è scambiatore di calore, gruppo di ossigenazione del mosto, a fermentatori tramite valvole a sfera, e tra fermentatori e maturatori. Per le temperature sono estremamente variabili, perché quando nei lavaggi le temperature più alte arriviamo a circa 80-82 gradi, a estremi opposti, che sono i trasferimenti di birra finita, diciamo, tra fermentatori e maturatori, che invece avvengono a temperature molto basse, quindi intorno a 0,0-0,5 gradi, e di pressioni ugualmente dallo 0, che è più o meno il trasferimento del mosto iniziale, quindi prima della fermentazione in cui non c'è ancora pressione, a pressione di birra intorno a 1 bar e 2. E allora, un tubo per noi deve avere sicuramente una flessibilità adeguata, e prima di tutto non deve trasferire alla birra particolarità, cioè quindi deve essere neutro nel processo, e deve resistere a tutto quello che facciamo in birrificio, quindi a tutti i processi, soprattutto con l'utilizzo di detergenti di qualsiasi tipo, che siano abbastanza durevoli nel tempo, anche se facciamo dei cambi di tubazioni ogni anno e mezzo, 2 anni, e il sistema di attacco rapido, insomma, anche alle valvole è importante per noi, perché ci consente di farlo in maniera veloce, insomma, senza grosse perdite di tempo. Noi utilizziamo solo questo in birrificio, non abbiamo altro tipo di tubazione, che appunto ci troviamo bene da questo punto di vista. Noi utilizziamo solo questo in birrificio, non abbiamo altro tipo di tubazione, che appunto ci troviamo bene da questo punto di vista. Allora, negli ultimi anni c'è stata tanto, diciamo, la tendenza anche a fare cose nuove, anche molto mutevoli o veloci al cambiamento nel tempo, quindi probabilmente futuro prossimo ci saranno anche magari immersioni nuove o birre particolari fatte un po' per il momento molto veloci. Ci sarà, secondo me, maggiore attenzione verso stili tradizionali, che poi via via ciclicamente nel tempo vengono un po' lasciati in sottofondo dalle mode del momento. Questo penso io un po' più a lungo termine.
Thank you, Emanuele. Thank you, Umberto, for your interview. Very, very interesting. Now, I want to thank you all for being here with me. And I think that I'm sure that you identified yourself in these two guys and their passion. I'm imagine that you feel your passion when the fermentation of the wort begins, and in some other parts of the process of brewing. There are critical process, and I'm sure that you want that all these parts are efficient, are successful, and in this way you can have the best beer ever. One of the steps, probably the most critical, is the fermentation step. And it is necessary for you that there is no microbiological contamination. I know that this may be one of your nightmares. And what can be done to avoid this is to have in control all the plants, all the equipments. The same passion that you feel during your process of brewing, we feel it here at IVG. Why? When we produce our hoses, starting from the preparation of the rubber, which is the heart of a hose, the heart of a hose that can be the most suitable, the perfect hose for your plant and your beer. What is important for you is important for us, the result of our activity, the result of our production. We start in the same way. We start with the best ingredients, with the best materials to have the best result. And we take care of all the steps of our production. The rubber is very important. The rubber is the heart of a hose and can grant you with probably the most specific and performing characteristics for your plant. It doesn't matter if it is big or small, because I can provide you with a solution, your hose, the perfect hose. But let's start with two specific examples. The Scotland and Vinoflex, two specific hoses for alcoholic food, for alcoholic beverage, such as wine, whiskeys, and beer. And now, each to his own. I mean, you can have your hose. For example, for beer, we have two options. We suggest two kinds of hose with the same tube, with the same compound in the tube, granting you with resistance to temperatures, high temperature for your cycles of sonification. Also, it is a hose-specific structure withstanding 10 bars working pressure and with a specific safety factor for the burst pressure. All of these characteristics are included into these two data sheets that you can download in our website. But what differs? In Scotland, the one that you see here installed on a truck, you have a very performing hose, a very specific hose with a personality. I mean, you can imagine it like a stout, a Scottish ale, for example, because the structure enables to withstand torque, twisting, and even the installation on reel or truck, as you can see. I took this picture in Spain, in a huge plant of beer. It was installed in different stations for different processes, and the responsible of maintenance told me that he was really satisfied because it was the solution for several services. But if your need is for a more flexible hose, you can address to Vinoflex. It is suitable for smooth floor where its specific structure and the external layers enable to glide very quickly and fast. So even your staff will be grateful for that. And I also call this hose, how to say, a plug and play hose. Why? Because you can assemble an assembly inside with the specific clamps, easy shell. Here they are, that avoid that you waste time and the process ends or stop for some hours. Both hoses are manufactured in the same way, with the same principle, the principle of the supply chain assurance that IVG guarantees. It is just like the brewmaster who selects ingredients, control and respect in order to have the best beer ever. Here at IVG, we managed all the supply chain because all materials are manufactured in-house, even some couplings, so we can grant you with the complete traceability. Also on fillings, such as the easy shell, for example. All of these characteristics, all the respect of the norm, are shown, clearly shown, not only in our process, but also on the product, on the result of our activity, the hose, with the specific transfer tape, with all the pictograms, but also on, let's say, some particular features that we can adopt for your hose. What I mean is that we take care of the aesthetical, of the outer aspect of the hose too. So thank you, and we are ready for a pint. Just a bit of advice before leaving. So I put you through Claudia for some suggestions that you can be interested in.
Good morning, dear brewmasters and beer lovers, and welcome to the fifth and last part of this Beer Up webinar. So thanks, Fabio, for the interesting information given. And here we are with our good practice. My name is Claudia Buono, and I work for the export department of IVG. What are good practice? Good practice will allow you to save time, money, and make you and your customers happy. And how? Best practice will allow you to maintain characteristics of your beer at its utmost overall conditions. So, what are the things you have to do at first use and after every use? At first use, you have to wash the hose with circulating potable water at 80-90 degrees, and then sanitize the assembly with the fluid you have decided at the percentage you have decided. After every use, you have to wash, deterge, rinse, and don't forget to drain the hose completely. We at IVG like to think that we have a solution for every problem you may face. So, if you want to increase hose life, just think that our hoses have been projected and developed with special white extruded specular tube, which will make life of your hose longer. If you want to maintain the organoleptic characteristics of your beer, you have to avoid bacterial charge in the hose tube, because you know that beer, apart from being a good nutritional source for humans, is also a good nutritional source for very unpleasant microorganisms. If you want to avoid dangerous accident and downtime at your plant, You need to perform dedicated CIP on every assembly you have. And remember, CIP is not an accessory part of the process, it plays a key role on it. And now some general but really important information if you want to maintain your assembly in good conditions for a long time. Never immerse the total assembly on sanification liquids because only the tube of it has been projected for sanification and cover might be damaged. Time respect is basic. After a washing cycle, always come a complete rinse of the assembly. This will help to eliminate traces of sanification fluid. And remember not to perform CIP at a higher working pressure than 3 bar, possibly maintaining working pressure constant during time. Again, no beer stagnation in the assembly, because hose has not been projected to keep the fluid in it. Always stock hoses far from direct light and heat. Before using the assembly, always check the general condition, if there are holes, cracks and tears. Always use perforated plugs. This will prevent powder and external agents to enter into the assembly, but at the same time will leave air flow into the assembly. So thanks again for participating to this Beer Up webinar. I hope you found it interesting. Send your requests, questions, anything you might need to the address you can find in our website. And thanks for participating to the third appointment of our flexibility project.